Hi, my name is Brian McClure, and I'm doing my research presentation on classroom management. And as I began here, I just tried to think about a new teacher and the anxiety that a lot of times a new teacher feels and the pressures that that new teacher feels as they head into a new school year. Of course, that's the time we're in right now. And so I was thinking through that, the perspective of a new teacher as they consider the pressure that is on them, and they feel that pressure. There's parents that are paying money to put their kids into your class, and so it creates a pressure, it creates tension, and so as I thought about this topic of classroom management, I was considering that new teacher that wants to be effective, that wants to make a difference, that wants to see children learn and grow and prosper in their class. But they don't know where to start. And so I broke this into 3 points on classroom management with this thesis, which is classroom management is essential to be an effective teacher. It is the key. It is probably the most important thing a new teacher could focus on if they want to be an effective teacher. And so I gave a few thoughts about classroom management. Number one, classroom management involves everything that a teacher does. It is all inclusive, from the preparation before they leave the house to the getting of the materials ready before they get to school, having that stuff ready, having their copies made, having their posters out, getting a good night's sleep, all of these things, just preparing yourself. I like the way one of my most helpful resources was the book, How to Be an Effective Teacher, The First Days of School by Harry and Rosemary Wong. And they define classroom management as all the things that a teacher does to organize students, space, time, and materials so that student learning can take place. And so it's all the things that a teacher does. And there's a lot of things, and there's a lot of thinking going on about that school day, and all of that preparation, all of those thoughts, whether it's the personal preparation or getting the classroom ready, making it look presentable, getting the desks the way you want them, all of that falls in this category of classroom management. They also said this in the book: you increase the chance of student success and decrease the chance of student disruptions if the materials, classroom climate, and teacher are ready before the students arrive. And so this is huge here. The classroom management, it involves everything we do. But secondly, I saw that effective classroom management, it involves procedures and routines. And I think this is the most important part of classroom management, that as I did study, this part right here about creating procedures and routines. And so the procedure is going to be getting things done. A teacher thinks through their day, and they think through, here's how I want the day to go. Here's what I want the students to do. And then they create procedures to put that action in place. And then it becomes a habit, or it becomes a routine. And so Doug Lemov says this in his book, Teach Like a Champion. He said, classroom procedures and routines, in other words, which are really shared habits carefully designed by a loving adult, are critical to almost every goal we seek in schools. So all these goals that teachers come in with, well, the critical part to getting those goals accomplished is to have some procedures and routines put in place so that you have an orderly class. Harry and Rosemary said this: a smooth running classroom is the responsibility of the teacher and the result of the teacher's ability to teach procedures. So if you want a smooth classroom, that's on the teacher teaching these procedures, and it's their responsibility. And so it takes preparation, it takes time, it takes thought. And I think it was Doug Lemov that said this: whatever students need to do with homework. So just take homework, for instance. When a student comes into the classroom and they're going to turn in homework, he says whatever students need to do with the homework, whether it's put it in a basket, place it on the front left corner of their desk, pass it to a proctor, they should do the same way every day without prompting. The students should get routines where they come in your room and they know the routine, they know the procedure, and they do that the same way every single day without you having to constantly prompt them to do that. That's part of just good classroom management. Doug said this: classroom culture is not static from day to day. It is shaped by the opening minutes of a lesson, whether you intentionally engineer it or not. So whether you think about this and are intentional about setting this good culture, or whether you're not intentional, there's a culture being shaped one way or the other. And so as a good educator, as a teacher that wants to be effective, we want to be intentional in this. And so that involves, well, the preparation beforehand, but then the procedures that we put in place, the routines that we established. And then the third thing that I found in this research is that effective class management is going to involve a discipline plan as well. So there will be discipline along the way, because not every student is going to be perfect every day. And you might have your procedures, you might have your routines, but some child is going to act out and some are going to cross the line. And so there must be a discipline plan. And so I think it was Doug Lemov that said this, or maybe this was actually Harry, that said students need to feel that someone is in control and responsible for their environment, and not only sets limits, but also maintains them. So students need to feel like this classroom is under control. There are boundaries, and those boundaries are going to be enforced. Now, we call those boundaries, we call them rules, class rules. And those rules give you a boundary line, and it tells the student what not to do. The procedures told us, here's what we're going to do to get things done. But the boundaries say you don't cross this line. The rules say you do not do this. And then if you do cross that line, there will be consequences. That has to be part of an effective classroom, of classroom management. And so I have found one of the keys in this area is consistency. We must, as educators, be consistent in the giving of the punishment on these rules. And so we know that a rule is not necessarily what you put on the paper. A rule is not necessarily what you talk about the first day of school, but a rule is what you enforce. And so if we don't enforce this consistently, if a student can get by with it day after day after day, and then all of a sudden we finally crack down on them, that is going to create a lot of frustration. And so as a teacher, we want to be effective in our classroom management. We have to have a discipline plan. Here are the rules, and then we have to consistently enforce that plan as we go through our day-to-day practice. And so what I found in this study, as this young teacher trying to get ready for the school year and wanting to make a difference, the keys are going to be realized. There's a lot of preparation that has to happen before you enter that first day. There needs to be a game plan. There needs to be a getting yourself ready and prepared, and getting the classroom ready. And it involves everything you do. And it hinges on those procedures and routines that you establish that first week of school. As you think through, what do I want the students to do, and how are we going to get that done? And then also having that discipline plan ready and in place, and giving those consequences when needed, giving rewards when earned as well. And so all of this will comfort that teacher as they are preparing for the new students to come in the new school year. And then my action plan as an administrator of our school is I want to make sure next year we have teacher in service set up, and I want to spend one day talking about the preparation that involves everything we do. I want to spend a day talking about effective classroom management with the procedures and routines. And then I want to spend a day next year talking about the discipline plan. And all of that will be part of our teacher in service. And I plan to do that year after year just to keep this classroom management as a focus in front of our teachers as we plan and we strive to be effective teachers here at our school, Faith Baptist Academy.